Hopefully this works. So I keep seeing all of these videos about tres leches popping up on YouTube, and I thought I would love some tres leches, but I really want cake pops. Thank you to Ridge.com for sponsoring today's video. Hello again, little brother. Big brother, what are you doing here? I've come to teach you a final lesson. There's nothing more I can learn from you. I have finally surpassed you. Brother, there's no way you could have done this. You can't gain strength without losing speed. But now I can hold 12 cards with cash. Ha! You're pathetic. Take this. That'll teach him. I have surpassed you, brother. That no longer works. Nani? I'm made of titanium with an RFID blocker. Impossible! No! Gain strength, speed, and 10% off with ridge.com/chefpk. Now the first thing we need to do is make our cake. We're going to start off with 2 cups worth of all-purpose flour right into your bowl, followed by 1 cup worth of granulated sugar. You're also going to need 1 1/4 teaspoons worth of baking powder, and then we need to separate some eggs. We're using a total of 5 whole eggs for this. You want to separate the yolks into one bowl and then separate the egg whites into the other. I got a double yolk on this one, so I guess maybe this is good luck for this experiment. Once you have all of your eggs separated, go ahead and start smoking yourself out by gently bringing together some of those dry ingredients. Just don't do it like I did. So I added the egg yolks straight to my dry ingredients, but you probably should ribbon the egg yolks with the sugar instead just to make the process a little bit better, but you know, it'll be fine. And to make the process easier, add in a half cup of whole milk. Whisk this for about 3 to 4 minutes until you get a really nice smooth batter. Once your batter is done, just make sure you scrape everything down so nothing is stuck to the sides of the bowl. Now we got to work with our egg whites, and for this we are going to be making a nice stiff meringue. So affix your whisk attachment to your blender and get these things just a little bit frothy. I like to get these to a very light frothiness so that way the sugar does start incorporating a little bit better. We're going to incorporate the sugar slowly. I like to do it in parts of thirds, but you basically want to make sure you don't just dump in all of your sugar all at once, otherwise it's not going to mix properly because the sugar does kind of weigh down those egg whites. Once you have all of your sugar in, you can start blending this into a full stiff meringue. You want to make sure that this is a nice stiff peak, but you also want to make sure you don't over whip it. That's actually very important, otherwise your egg whites can still break. Once you have your nice velvetyness ready, go ahead and add in that cap full of vanilla that you forgot to put into the previous batter. It's okay, it'll be totally fine. Followed by a couple of pinches of salt. Just get all that incorporated, don't worry about it, don't tell your mama. Now we have both of our bases ready, our batter and our egg white meringue. Now we do have to start folding these together, but first we need to get our pan ready. My pan's kind of rusting a little bit, so we're gonna go ahead and line this with a little bit of parchment paper. Now a really cool trick that you can do is spray down that pan with a little bit of pan spray and then press your parchment paper into it. This is actually going to help adhere it straight to the pan. This will also help you release it later, so it's kind of a neat little trick. You can trim off any excess paper if you would like. I like to do this just so it's a little bit neater when I work with it. And then hit the actual parchment paper with just a touch of that pan spray, or go ahead and wipe it down with some butter. Now take a third of your egg whites and go ahead and start folding this together. You still want to be careful when folding in this first third so you don't lose a tremendous amount of that air in that egg whites. Once that's fully incorporated, go ahead and add in the rest of your egg whites to your batter and be very gentle as you scoop from the bottom, bring it up and around the bowl so that way you're constantly in this folding motion. You want to mix this until you don't see any more white streaks of egg whites. That's kind of the goal with this batter, just to make sure there's no more streaks. Once you can't see any streaks, go ahead and pour this directly into your pan, and then we're going to bake this at 375 degrees for about 35 minutes. You do want to check this periodically just to make sure there isn't too much color. After those 30-35 minutes or so, I went ahead and pulled this out, and it had just a touch of color on this, but I wanted to make sure it was cooked all the way through by inserting a toothpick into it and making sure it came out clean. Now this does have to cool down completely, and you can see mine did deflate just a little bit. This probably has to do with some of the batter inconsistency, but the actual crumb was really nice. So I was really happy with how this sponge cake came out. I trimmed off the edges and then wrapped this thing up because we're not going to be using this today. We're going to need to work with this tomorrow. So I'm just going to let this hang out in the fridge until we're ready. So now we have to look at the 3 milks, or the tres leches. I had asked my friend Mirza what she recommended, and she said to make your own milks if you really want to, or you can just use the canned stuff. If you're making your own milk, we're going to use 2 cups of whole milk in each pot. One pot is going to be for evaporated milk, the other one is going to be for sweetened condensed milk. The evaporated milk you just put on the stove over low heat. Add in 3 tablespoons worth of sugar and a capful of vanilla to your other milk that's going to become the sweetened condensed milk. Bring this over to the stove and we're going to start cooking this. We'll bring you over. Now as you start cooking cooking this, you do have to pay attention to it quite a bit, otherwise those milk solids can burn very easily. The sweetened condensed milk takes about 45 minutes to an hour to fully realize its true potential, but the evaporated milk only takes about half an hour to evaporate by half. Once you have both of your milks ready, go ahead and put them into separate bowls. You can see how thick the actual condensed milk gets, and this is kind of consistency you're looking for. Now take your evaporated milk and your sweetened condensed milk, about a cup of each, place it into your bowl and add a cup of half and half. She'd recommended I use leche media, but also half and half is a good substitute. Once you have your 3 milks ready, go ahead and place this into your container of choice and let it hang out in the fridge. Now for your dulce de leche. You can make this with the same sweetened condensed milk we made earlier, 2 cups of milk, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and stir until you hate your life, and you're cooking this for about an hour and a half to only realize that you took your eyes off of it for about 5 minutes, and now you have terrible dulce de leche. So instead, we're going old school. Take your 2 cans and place them in a pot after removing the wrap, because you don't want to deal with this. Trust me, I've done this before. It's not fun fishing out all of that paper. Now we do have to make sure that these are totally covered with water. This is super important. Otherwise, disclaimer, they will explode. So once your water is boiling, place your cans back into your pot and make sure that those are fully covered with water. We're gonna bring this back down to a simmer, go play some League of Legends, and let this cook for about an hour and a half. After that first hour and a half, I had to come back downstairs and add more hot boiling water to the top of it to constantly make sure that these were covered, and then went upstairs and played more League of Legends. Now, after about 2.5 hours, these were ready to go. You want to be super careful pulling these out because they are incredibly hot and you don't want them to explode. I keep saying explode because I have had this happen. Now take these out of the water and let them cool down completely to room temperature. What's really great about doing this method is that you can just leave these in the cans for as long as you need to. But since I wanted to put these into a jar right now, I went ahead and opened them while they were still slightly warm, and it kind of peaked out a little bit. This dulce de leche had that beautiful color, that beautiful flavor, everything that you would know and love with dulce de leche. Gandalf even was interested in what this was. He probably thought it was his cat food. Now take all of your dulce de leche and place it into your container of choice. Again, I'm just using mason jars for this. And don't worry about how it looks kind of like a chunky boy, because once you take a spoon to it and bring it all back together, it is this beautiful, beautiful, milky, caramelly goodness that we just want to eat right away with our hands. Now here is where things get interesting. We're going to be making a little bit of whipped cream. For the whipped cream, we're going to need about 1 cup of heavy cream with about 3 tablespoons worth of powdered sugar. Now go ahead and get this thing partially mixed up, kind of to like just a soft consistency, and then we're going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. The reason why I'm adding the cream of tartar and this cinnamon is because I wanted to actually stabilize the whipped cream. This is going to be super important because we're going to fold this into the cake. Once you have a nice stiff whipped cream, this is ready to go. Nothing special here. Now take a nice chunker of your cake. I'm using about 1/4 of my cake, and the rest of that I'm just gonna freeze for later because we don't need it. Now, instead of crumbling cake for cake pops, I do dice this up into small pieces. The reason for this is because the sponge is incredibly soft and really moist, and if you decide to try to crumble this, it's just gonna turn into a ball of goo again, and we don't want that. Once you have all of your cake nice and diced up, go ahead and grab just about 3 tablespoons worth of your whipped cream and gently fold this together. Gently, because again, that cake is really soft. Once all of that whipped cream is fully incorporated, it is time to try to put on some gloves. This is such a fail, Paul. Just figure your life out, man. Now that we have our gloves on, I am using a 3/4 ounce portion scoop to get these nice even balls, but feel free to just weigh these out to about 1 ounce. If you're using a portion scoop, don't press too hard. It looks like I am, but I'm really not putting a lot of pressure into this because again, I don't want to mush that cake up. Go ahead and make as many as you can. I end up getting 6 and chill these down in the refrigerator for about half an hour. While those are chilling down, we're gonna go ahead and melt down some white chocolate. I found these vanilla white chocolate wafers that melt really easily. Go ahead and pop these in the microwave at your medium setting for about 15 to 20 seconds in intervals, so that way you make sure you don't burn it because, you know, Chef Mike is not that reliable. Once you have all of your white chocolate nice and melty, we're gonna go ahead and start using this to set up our initial cake pops. Now grab your cake popper pops out of the refrigerator and grab your candy sticks. You are going to need them for this. I mean, that's kind of a non-negotiable if you're trying to make cake pops. And dip about an inch worth of the stick into your white chocolate and slowly insert this into your actual cake ball. The white chocolate is going to help adhere the stick to the cake, so that way you have better chances of it not falling apart. Now go ahead and do the same thing to each and every one of your cake pops and let these hang out for about half an hour just while you're working with your other stuff. They can be at room temperature. Now grab your Dulce De Leche and go ahead and warm this up again with the help of Chef Mike. You just want this to be like a nice runny caramel-like consistency. This is going to help with the next step. Now I ended up trying to make a cake pop holder with a little bit of foam and some plastic just to make sure I had somewhere to land. And once that chocolate is nice and hard, go ahead and start rolling this into your Dulce De Leche. Hindsight, if you use a deeper container with more Dulce De Leche, this is going to make your life easier. Now once you have your dulce all covered all over that cake, this can be placed onto your little foam piece. Also in hindsight, you should have probably made the holes ahead of time because this is very difficult to do because this is very, very thick foam. So now you're kind of walking around trying to figure out how to place this in the freezer. So grab yourself an egg carton and hopefully that works a little bit better. Go ahead and dip your second pop. Realize that the egg carton doesn't work as well as that foam piece. So now you have to combine powers of the foam and the egg carton. Once you have your life figured out, dip all of your cake balls into the Dulce de Leche and place these in the freezer for at least 4 to 5 hours, preferably overnight. Open the freezer first. What are you doing? Now it is the next day and I have my white chocolate remelted and we're gonna dip our frozen Dulce de Leche cake pop directly into that white chocolate. This is gonna create a shell that is very, very important for the final step. Make sure you get as much white chocolate on this covered as possible and place it back into the freezer. Do this with each and every one of your cake pop. The second one came out a lot better as I learned my swirling and dipping technique, if you will. And once you have everything covered, realize you didn't have enough white chocolate, but we have 3 pretty beautiful cake pops and one that looks like it was beat out back. Now that we have everything cooled down, I did melt more chocolate to finally cover the other 2. This was in the refrigerator for a few hours just to make sure everything hardened up. Now grab yourself some chocolate chips and with the help of Chef Mike, go ahead and get those melted down. My chocolate wasn't runny enough for what I wanted to do, so I added in just a touch of oil to kind of help give it a better consistency so I can pour these on top. Now you can do this with a small piping bag, but I'm just using a fork because I didn't feel like making a paper piping bag because I'm really bad at it. But once you have your chocolate layered lines over the white chocolate balls, you have this really beautiful contrast of the dark chocolate and the white chocolate, and those are ready to go. Now for our Tres Leches milk. You think I forgot about this? No, this is the star of the show. Get your milk mixed up together because I did realize that there was a little bit of skin forming, and find something that is the same size as your pipette. I'm using this little bamboo skewer to puncture a hole into the actual cake pop. The reason for this is that pipette will not puncture itself. Now once you have that all nice and punctured, grab yourself your pipette and just make sure it fits without too much friction. This is going to really help you make sure that you can get that milk in there. Now go ahead and start filling up your pipettes. You squeeze the tube first, insert it into the milk, and then you have this beautiful filled pipette full of Tres Leches milk. Insert this into that first hole you had made, and now we have our first Tres Leches cake pop. I did realize that the skin that had formed was giving me some issues filling the rest of them, so I went ahead and strained all of it out to have a smoother consistency. Do the same thing with as many Tres Leches cake pops as you would like. I made a total of 3, and this is so nice. I'm so happy. I'm pretty sure that this episode of the lab is very successful. This is a big boy. This is one of the bigger cake pops that I had, but now we get to do the magic. This is gonna be, hopefully this works. Oh God, it's going in. Okay, we have to be super careful. It is getting into the cake. Please don't drip. Lucian, we don't need this right now. So you can see that like, it's not going in as well as I thought it would, but it's definitely going in. You can see it coming out the bottom now. Okay, come on, just a little more milk. Get it. Oh, this is gonna be so freaking good. I think, okay, can we get a little, okay, we gotta bite into it. Let's see how much this gets soaked though. I don't think it's gonna be soaked too much. This is breakfast. I got a little bowl just so we can, well, this is the lab. Oh my God. No joke. One of the best cakes I've ever had. Holy crap. All the flavors from the, look at that. From the Tres Leches from the actual milks. And then some of that whipped cream, remember we folded it with whipped cream, saturated the cake. Then you have the dulce de leche around it and the white chocolate just holding everything together. Oh my God. Guys, this is, I didn't think we would do this. I didn't think you could actually make a Tres Leches cake pop that captures everything behind a Tres Leches, but this gets me so excited. I don't know, what do you think? What's another cake pop idea you guys want to see? Maybe here on the lab. Let me know down in the comments below. I'm super stoked for this. I really, really am. If you want to support the channel directly, check out my link down below where you can buy my books or support me on Patreon. My name is Chef PK. Welcome to the lab. Get subscribed. And remember, keep playing with your food. This is so good. We should put some rum on it.